Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Last Christian. My name is J.D. Williams here in beautiful East Texas. And joining me from New York City, my co-host, my brother in Christ, Mr. David Paxton.
Howdy.
How things going, David?
Well, as you can see, I have been raised to sainthood. So if you can't see it on the radio, you'll have to log into YouTube and see. Got this cool picture of the eclipse last week, and I put it behind my head, and it looks like I'm a Catholic saint.
Yes, it does. Point. Yeah, it does. It really does.
Need to do this, I guess.
Oh, man. Well, David, now I mentioned this to you briefly before we even got going today. And by the way, for those of you that are watching and listening, if you want to get it in video form, of course, YouTube's a good place to go. But you can also go to www.lastchristian.net. That's lastchristian.net, and that will pull up the video versions for you. But one thing that I did today, David, is I was trying to find stuff on Israel, on what was going on, what's the latest. And I'm going to say 99% of news agencies have moved on. It's old news now.
Wow.
And, I actually listened to a few news reports. Now, I'm not talking, some people saying, CNN's still covering it. Yeah, they are. So is MSNBC, and so is Fox, all of them. I'm talking about the printed media. They just, they forgot it. They just, it's no big deal anymore. And if they do cover it, it's about how Israel needs to not do anything. And that's basically where that comes from.
That's even more telling than all the other times when they got nothing to do but talk about Israel and badmouth them.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, Israel's being attacked, and they have, and what are they going to do? Is Iran shooting bombs at them? What are you going to blame Israel for that, too?
Yeah. Well,
So that's why they're not saying anything.
Yeah. Well, the main news right now is Donald Trump is being tried on a trumped up.
Get it?
Yeah. I mean, a stupid case that nobody would ever bring in the history of time except for terrified Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think there's an agenda behind that, and it's quite simple. It's campaign time, and they want him in court. It's going to be 4 days a week. It's right here in New York City.
Yeah.
And as if Donald Trump's going to lay down and not say anything. Are these people retarded or something? It's like he's gonna destroy every single one of them who have any party to this, just with mean talk.
Yeah,
he's just gonna call them funny names, and it's gonna destroy their career.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're thinking, but anyway, because it's just what's gonna happen is everyone's gonna recognize what they're doing, and then even the people that didn't want to vote for him are gonna say, I'm gonna vote for him now anyway.
Well, in line with that, I saw some news reporting, even on MSNBC, of all places, where they had a group of people, a forum. You know how they bring in those little groups, to get stuff going. And they ask them, are you better off under Trump or Biden? Trump. Who's more important to you? Trump. Who are you going to vote for? Trump. I mean, it was unanimous across the board. Now that's on MSNBC.
People do.
Yeah, that's on MSNBC. So, today I'm seeing fake polls come out that say that Biden's taken the lead in 10 polls. No, he hasn't. No, he has not. He's still behind by 10 to 20. Okay, still not ahead. Okay, let's do.
He absolutely is nowhere near it. No. I think he's got maybe 3% of the people, and they're the ones with issues.
Right. All right. Now, the title screen today is all about Psalm 83. Are we witnessing the beginning of Psalm 83, the Psalm 83 war, which is spoken of, obviously, in Psalm 83. And
it's a good place for it.
Yeah, and it names the nations that are involved in that and everything else. And we're going to talk about that. I promise you, we're going to get there. But before we do, got a little bit of news to get out of the way, and I'm going to start with the only thing that's not really going to be Israel today, and that happens to be the other thing that everybody is always hyped up about, which, of course, is the Ukraine. So listen to this one.
Ukraine's military chief warned that the battlefield situation in the industrial east has significantly worsened in recent days.
In an update on the Telegram messaging app, General Oleksandr Syrsky said that Moscow had significantly ramped up its assaults since President Vladimir Putin extended his nearly quarter-century rule in a preordained election last month that saw anti-war candidates barred from the ballot. Benjamin Wright reporting.
Imagine that. Candidates were banned from the ballot in Russia. That sounds kind of funny. Seems like I heard something about somebody trying to ban another candidate in the United States of America from being on the ballot.
So we're turning into a dictatorship.
Yeah, the United Soviet States of America. That's what I have predicted for a while. Okay, now we get into the real deal. Okay, are we witnessing the beginning of the Psalm war? Okay, Psalm 83 is pretty specific, and we'll read it here in a minute. But before we do, I want to tell you about this, and I want to get your response to this one, David. This is again news reporting coming in, the little bit that's about Israel. Turkish, Jordanian, and Iraqi officials have said that Iran gave wide notice about its drone and missile attack on Israel.
Oh, I'm going to kill you. Here's your notice. That makes it right.
Now, U.S. officials said that Tehran didn't give Washington any advance notice. So,
well, as if they're supposed to, but anyway.
Yeah, but my point on this one is I can see Iraqi officials saying that because they're basically now a part of Iran anyway. Iran's, without Iran, they I don't know what they'd be.
Yeah, they're just the same people anyway. It's only because of the UN Council back then. Was it the League of Nations? That's because they split them up, but basically the same people.
Yeah, but now Turkish and Jordanian. Okay, Jordanian. I don't know. They're kind of wishy-washy, right? I mean, one way or the other. But now Turkish, that's Turkey. Turkey's supposed to be in NATO. So if Turkey was notified about this attack that was widely distributed, why didn't they tell the United States?
Don't know. That's a really good question.
Yeah. So, that's something that I'm trying to figure out. I'm gonna stay on this one for a while and see what I can come up with.
Okay.
Now, here's another one. President Joe Biden called Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack, and I actually was watching one of the news stations. They were saying they were waiting on the readout. The phone call took place at like 8:00 Eastern time, I believe. And around midnight, they said, we still hadn't heard from the White House yet. Still hadn't got a readout. So anyway, supposedly it was leaked, some of the conversations. And here's really what was said. President Biden has told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the United States will not participate in any counteroffensive against Tehran. So, in other words, you're on your own, Israel. Exactly like what the Bible said is going to be the case. You notice everybody's running to the UN. That's a good place to yell and scream and make it look like you're doing something when you're actually doing absolutely nothing. I think it's a good precursor to what's going to happen in the very near future. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, so it says, have you come to take a spoil? Yeah. So, I mean, we're seeing the beginnings of this. It's just exciting that it's all, coming together. You hate to see the war part of it, but the fact is it's been written. So there it is, and it's going to happen. And my idea is I just rip the Band-Aid off, right? Let's get this over with so we can go and rule and reign for 1,000 years with Jesus.
Well, it sounds crazy, but the whole world is saying, Israel should not respond. Just let it go. Okay?
let it go.
Just let it go.
I mean, don't worry about it.
They sent 300 plus attack suicide drones. They sent cruise missiles, and they sent ballistic missiles, all fired from either Iran or Iranian proxies. and they managed to kill one person, a 7-year-old Muslim girl. That was the only one that died in all of the attack. That's it.
Wow.
So I guess she doesn't count.
It speaks
so
to the Iron Dome, right?
Iron Dome, the United States supposedly took out about half of the stuff. And then Jordan, I believe it is, took out a few. And, of course, the Iron Dome. And then they had a couple of others. Can't remember what the names of the systems were, but they had another missile defense system. And they got one that's called David Sling. I think that one's cool, that they employed on this, too. But from what I understand, this was no more, Iran didn't really expect to do any damage. What they wanted to do was see what the Israeli how they would react to an attack, like a test. And and that really makes sense to me.
Yeah, they're testing them. I mean, that's typical Islam tactics anyway. Just aggravate someone to see what they do. This way you'll know what they'll do next time you aggravate them, but now you'll go further and they think you won't go further. Yeah.
Which is kind of what happened with October 7th in the first place. They were being warned that there was stuff happening right around the area there, and they didn't pay attention to it because they get hit by these little rockets all the time. I mean, imagine, David, can you imagine in New York if New York City was getting hit every day by, 4 or 5 little missiles coming
going off
every day?
Yeah.
I mean,
people will be in an uproar here.
Yeah. But in Israel, it's like, okay, they're shooting again. Well, Dome will take care of it. Don't worry about it. But of course, now, from what I understand, they got 30 seconds to make it to a bomb shelter anywhere in Israel. But the things are like everywhere. So it's not as bad as what it sounds like. At least, that's what I'm hearing anyway. Okay.
Yeah, but I think they're supposed to be built into every building. So you just got to run downstairs.
Yeah, and houses and everything else. Bus stops and around bus stops. I mean, everything. It's crazy. I'd love to visit Israel, but I sure wouldn't want to live there to live through that. I don't know how they do that. I really don't. I don't know how they do that stuff.
It's amazing. It's because Satan's trying to keep them out because he knows that's the prophecy that they'll all be home. So they're not leaving.
No, they're not.
No.
As a matter of fact, they're trying to expand. Yeah.
Do whatever you got to do. We're just believe the Lord.
Yeah. All right. Now then, the IDF spokesperson here, Hagari, I think, Hagari, he said that Iran launched 60 tons of warheads and explosives in that attack.
Wow.
Yeah, 60 tons. Iran and its proxies launched approximately 350 suicide drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles and rockets from Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and Hezbollah in Lebanon towards Israel. Again, he emphasizes the 60 tons. He said, but the threat from Iran was met with an aerial, operational, technological, and intelligence superiority of a united defensive coalition of international allies led by the United States, together with Great Britain, France, and other partners. Together, we intercepted 99% of the threats toward Israel. So that's pretty cool,
Yeah, they're taking credit for it, but it's clearly the hand of the Lord.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay.
So now that's pretty funny. I want to say something about that as well, but I forgot what it was.
Well, you'll remember in a second. Netanyahu has decided to postpone the operation in Rafah, and that is according to the Israel National News, that they were expecting to actually begin to drop flyers on Rafah Monday. But because of the attack, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to retaliate, that they're postponing Rafah, which makes sense. You want to go after those folks first. But one thing here is that John Kirby of the United States, he said that they don't need to just postpone it. They just don't need to do it. in Rafah. He said, we believe a major ground offensive in Rafah would be a mistake. It would be a disaster. And that's followed up with our with Cackles. I'll let people figure out who she is. She said that she would not rule out consequences if Israel carried out a military operation in Rafah. So that's the United States picking the wrong team, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, no other way to look at that. So,
and it's just a big mess, and that's what it was. I was thinking, where did Iran get the money for all these missiles?
we gave it to them.
Yeah,
United
yeah. Could it
States.
be that giant pallets of money that we sent to them?
Yeah.
Could be. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and now they're like, we have a bigger attack for Israel. I don't know if you saw that one.
No. What is that?
The Epic Times is like, Iran is now threatening America with an even bigger attack than the one they just did.
I did see that. Where if they say that if Israel retaliates and if the United States was to go along with them, that they would strike harder at both.
Oh, good for them.
So I think maybe that's one reason why Biden's saying don't do it, because he's scared of them. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. Whereas Benjamin Netanyahu, he's sort of like the Rock. He says, "Bring it, just bring it, and let's see let's see how that works out for you in the end." I mean, you like sand so much, we'll just turn your whole country into sand. How's that? And I mean, that's basically what Israel says. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, we've had enough fun with the news, David. So we'll move on to Psalm 83, and I think the best way to do this really is just kind of put it on the screen. So
all right,
there we go. Psalm 83, 1-4. You want to read that one?
Yeah. You like it in that version? You want the
you can go with yours if you want to. That's fine.
version? Yeah, leave that up, and you can follow along. It's pretty good. But I found this Jewish Publication Society. It's got a really good version, which we're going to talk about on the other show. So I found it on there too. Okay. So it says, "Do not keep your silence, O God. Do not hold your peace or be still. For look, your enemies make an uproar, and those who hate you have lifted up their heads. They have given crafty counsel against your people and have consulted against your treasured ones. They have said, 'Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be remembered. Yeah. For they have conspired together. They make a covenant against you. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites,'" who is that, right? "Even Moab and the Hagrites, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek and the Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre. Assyria is also joined with them. They are the strength of the descendants of Lot, Selah. Do to them as you did to the Midianites, as to Sisera and Jabin at the river of Kishon, who perished at Endor. They became as dung for the ground. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeeb. Yes, all their princes as Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, 'Let us take for ourselves our pastures of God, the pastures of God as a possession.' Oh my God, make them like a tumbleweed, a stubble for the wind, as a fire burns a forest, and as a flame set the mountains ablaze. So pursue them with your storm, and make them afraid with your hurricane. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know you, whose name alone is the Lord, the Most High over all the earth." That's a pretty severe prayer, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed. And that, I don't know, there was parts in there what makes me think, yeah, okay, maybe this is it. And then there's other parts of it where certain countries aren't involved, at least not yet, that caused me to say, well, hold up, let's wait, let's see what happens. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm not seeing it yet. Now, what is your understanding of that so far, anyway?
Well, yeah, I mean, so we see all the other countries, and we know who the Moabites are. They're like gigabytes and megabytes, and there's also Moabites. So, and a Moabite is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Yeah.
It's a Lot,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a descendant of Lot. You get it? Okay, so the tents of Edom. Now, Edom and the Ishmaelites, that's Ishmael was the forsaken brother of Isaac, and then Edom is a descendant of Esau. So we see Jacob and Esau. So it's all these half brothers who think that they should have gotten the inheritance because Ishmael was born first.
Right.
Esau was born first. So they're still upset that they didn't inherit the land, which is why they want to take the land back. They're like, we're the firstborn. And they're like, yeah, but you suck.
You sold your part. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that's the way it is. So Abraham, he did it of his own accord. That's how he got Ishmael. And then he sold it. So there's two different parables there about these people. And they're mixed. That's what Arab means. It means mixed. So you see the Edomites and the Ishmaelites kind of mixed together. And then he's just talking about other people that are there. Now, you have to ask yourself, where were all these other places that they were launched, and how do they fit in with all of this? Because you see the Philistines, that would be Hamas down in the south, and then Amalek. So there's a lot. And then you got to ask yourself, are they in cahoots? Because it says they conspired together. It doesn't mean they actually did all the work together, but they conspired together, and maybe they joined forces and said, "Yeah, go Iran. If you go, we'll take your side," kind of a thing.
Right.
With it not necessarily in there. So I can see how it possibly could be. If you just say, well, the conspiracy was together as opposed to, full enactment.
Right.
But, if you're looking at it from, no, everybody was joined in on the party shooting rockets, then no, that didn't happen yet.
Right. And again, we're both saying the same word, which is yet. Because with Iran's attack this past weekend, they basically did something that, they've never done before, which is attack Israel directly. Now they're hinting at, well, if Israel hits us back, and I guarantee you Israel's going to hit them back, that they're going to come with more. Well, more could mean several things there, right?
Yep. Bigger, better, faster.
Yeah.
So that's really a good point, because they wanted to test the Iron Dome, let's say, just a theory here. Maybe they wanted to test to see exactly where these rockets would be hit, and if in fact they could get close enough with a bomb that had nuclear capabilities, and use that as an EMP, and see if they can get close enough. And that's why they were testing the Iron Dome. So if anyone's in Israel listening, that's probably a good thing to check.
Yeah, for real. Now, another thing that was reported a little bit while this attack was ongoing was the fact that Iran did something that not even Saddam Hussein did during the Gulf Wars, when he was shooting all those Scud missiles. He was shooting Scud missiles at them. The one place he didn't shoot those was toward Jerusalem, because he didn't want to take a chance of hitting the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Golden Dome. Well, Iran didn't have such concerns. A lot of their missiles, according to the coordinates that the Israelis were talking about, were aimed at Jerusalem. Now, I'm not saying that they were aimed at the Al-Aqsa or whatever. I'm not saying it was aimed at that mosque or at the Golden Dome, but their missiles aren't exactly pinpoint accurate. So they took a big chance, right?
Yeah. So you got to ask yourself, there's two possibilities there that I can see. One of them is they don't really care about it because it was never on their holy list and they're just pretending it is. Or they knew that the dome would take them out and they just wanted to test the dome to see where it went.
Yeah. Or they just don't care. And if it gets hit, they can blame Israel and get everybody all bent out of shape.
Yeah, blame Israel for that too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they blame for everything else, right?
They made me do it.
Yeah.
They made me blow up the mosque.
Now, you were talking about, all these different groups and all that. over there. Does this have anything to do with the Shiites and the Sunnis and all, or are they part of this?
They're two different halves. They hate each other,
Right?
And I'm not going to say which one's which. Partly because I don't remember, and partly because then they'll get mad at me, whichever what I say. So,
I don't remember either.
One is supposedly really nice. I know some people now, and they're like super nice Muslims, and the other ones just want to destroy everybody in the world.
Right. Death to America.
The religion itself is false, sorry to say, but there's some super wonderful people that happen to be Muslim and try to witness to them more than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know that those two groups hate each other. You know, that they get, I don't know why. I don't know what the basis is, but I know that they don't like each other at all. Mm-hmm. Saddam Hussein in Iraq had one group kind of pinned in the north, from what I remember, and then the rest of them were able to operate in the rest of the country. And I think these groups have caused problems in just about every country that they're involved in the Middle East. So I don't know, but you know, I want us to get into this more because I think that there's some indication here that we may be witnessing the beginning, and then there's some that says, well, maybe not, you know. But anyway, I think that we ought to go into it in greater detail. But
we'll take a look.
Yeah, one thing that I do want to do, though, is remind everybody, and by the way, our Middle East audience is really growing. Appreciate that. And you guys ought to stay tuned in because the mainstream media sure isn't going to tell you anything. So, you know, I'll do my best to keep up with it. I get the information from all over the world, and I'll try to share it with you as best I can. And we look at this from the lens of the Bible, and that's it. And if we don't know the answer, we'll tell you we don't know. We'll tell you it's opinion if it's opinion. We'll tell you it's biblical if it's biblical. That's the best I can tell you on that. And the one thing that I do know that's biblical is that the rapture is going to happen. And if anything, you should really begin to start paying attention because Bible prophecy is coming true right in front of your very eyes right now. Everything's been done that needs to happen before the rapture of the church. So if you haven't accepted Jesus yet, please do. All you've got to do is say a really quick prayer to the Lord. Tell him, Lord, I know I'm a sinner. I know Jesus died on the cross for me. I know he rose after 3 days. I know he sits there with you. I know he promised to come back and get his church before you unleash your wrath. I promise to follow you all the rest of my days of my life. In Jesus' name, amen. If you'll do that, you'll be saved. Okay, and you won't have to worry about it. All right, we'll talk about all this and a lot more in the second half. We'll be back after a very short break.
From Feature Story News in the UK, I'm John Beaver. Israel's War Cabinet has met again to discuss how to respond to Iran's drone and missile attacks on Saturday. No decision has been announced, but world leaders have urged restraint to avoid wider regional escalation. It comes as diplomatic pressure is also being applied against Iran. Israel's foreign minister has written to more than 30 countries demanding further sanctions on Iran's missile program and the nation as a whole. Richard Pater is the director of the Britain-Israel Communications and Research Centre and says Israel is keeping planned retaliation under wraps for now.
It suits their agenda right now to keep Iran on their toes, to understand that the unprecedented attack on Saturday night deserves a response. They've got it coming to them, but the timing is not clear. And I think it's also important that beyond, I suppose, some of the bluster and rhetoric, that the most likely scenario is still that Israel will look to be coordinated, certainly with their greatest ally, the US, but also the UK.
Nigerian authorities say they've secured the release of over 1,000 people recently kidnapped in the northern part of the country. Various armed gangs have kidnapped hundreds of people across northern Nigeria since the beginning of this year. From the capital Abuja, Ajak Mangut reports.
According to the National Security Advisor, or NSA, no ransom was paid for the release of the kidnapped victims. The NSA said this when he received 23 people who were rescued by the military at the weekend. They were kidnapped from the Federal University Gusau in Zamfara State, northwest Nigeria, in September. The NSA appreciated security operatives for rescuing the students without losing any of them. Nigeria has struggled to contain rising cases of kidnappings for ransom. More than 200 cases of kidnappings have been reported in January alone, according to civil society organization Enough is Enough. Nigeria's National Security Advisor has assured that going forward, it is strengthening law enforcement and security measures to prevent these abductions and will strengthen physical security across vulnerable communities.
Authorities in Pakistan have declared a state of emergency in the southwest of the country as torrential rains continue to batter low-lying areas. Several houses have collapsed and at least 49 people have died in the last 3 days. Hira Mustafa has more.
Pakistan's National Disaster Management Authority has issued a warning, saying torrential rainfall in the days ahead could trigger more landslides. Officials say some of those killed were farmers who were struck by lightning. The Prime Minister has asked authorities to evacuate residents from high-risk areas. Pakistan is increasingly prone to extreme weather events. Hira Mustafa, Islamabad.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
And welcome back to the second half of Last Christian. Again, my name is Joel Williams, JD, and they're in New York. Mr. David Paxson. I guess call you DP, maybe? I don't know. Anyway.
No, call me Saint David John.
Yeah, with that background, you need it, yeah. One thing I failed to tell people in the first half, David, was the fact that, they did fire those 300-plus drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, all that, but half of the missiles, not the drones now, but half of the missiles that they fired misfired and didn't go anywhere. So
I think with all that money we gave them, they could have made better missiles.
Their batting average is not good when it comes to missiles, so that's something that they need to work on.
I wonder if that's because they're incompetent or if Israel's got some cool people slid in there that is sabotaging things.
I would go with option B. Because,
it seems more reasonable, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was hearing a lot, even before that attack happened, that, Israel had infiltrated and pretty much knew, what was going on before the attack even happened. And I think they're right. They're pretty good. I wouldn't want to mess with Israeli intelligence. Yeah, they blew the October 7th thing. I know, but it's not like the information wasn't there. It's coming just like our 9/11. We knew in advance something was going to happen, but we didn't pay attention to it. Well, Israel knew something was going to happen, and they didn't pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure we learned our lesson, but I guarantee you Israel did.
They will listen now.
Yeah,
and we can't expect people to be perfect.
No. I mean, war's a horrible, horrible thing. Yeah, and I hate to see it, but yet we know it's coming. Another thing that just popped in my mind, David, was you'll hear wars and rumors of war. Well, if you equate that just to Israel, don't leave the rest of the world out. There's war and there's rumor of war. And we're just talking about Israel. I mean, it's just something to think about, right?
And then he talks about all the nations. Nations are about ethnic group against ethnic group.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. So this is just Israel.
Yeah. I mean, you got all the protests in the streets right now. One thing that people don't realize is that the areas that they attacked, that Hamas attacked, they attacked into areas that the Jews that lived there were actually pro-Hamas. These were people that wanted to get along with them, had friends in there. They went across the, they actually were in support of a separate Palestinian state. All that stuff. They were, they were the most liberal in all of Israel, and in return for their support, they had their heads cut off. They were burned. They had babies cut out of the mother's womb. They were burned up. I mean, that's what you get when you side with the wrong team, right?
It's like the scorpion and the frog, right?
Yep. There you go. All right, let's get back to Psalm 83, and I think you want to even take it to another book of the Bible, which I'm ready for anytime.
Okay.
So you tell me where you want to go.
Look at this. We see all these people here, but then there's like you said, the ice cream toting president that the corporation we have here it has.
Yeah.
Some people will know what I'm talking about. Biden. So
let's be specific.
just so you know.
Okay.
The more you know.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
Yeah. Okay.
So Ezekiel 38, and we're kind of in the same realm here of talking prophecy of wars at the end of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to hit on this. So let's read verse 12 and 13. So I have it in the King James. And let me bring up, let's say, the New American Standard so we don't mess people up with Old English. All right. So, and you will say in verse 11, actually, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will go against those who are at rest and live securely, all of them living without walls and having no bars or gates. So this is a time basically when Israel's at peace. And remember back then, you didn't build a town without building a wall around it.
Right.
So because this is your country, you want to keep illegal immigrants out, like we should do with a wall around our country.
Yep.
So because that's what they always did. So he's talking about that, and it says, no bars or gates, to capture a spoil and seize plunder, to turn your hand against the waste places which are now inhabited, against the people who are gathered from the nations and who have acquired cattle and goods and live at the center of the world. Now look at that. It was a waste place. It's now inhabited.
Right.
That's Israel against people, and they were gathered from the nations. What other country lives in a wasteland and they were gathered from all the nations? And they got cattle and goods, and now they're living at the center of the world.
No.
Now, most of our technology, the smart stuff, comes out of Israel.
Yeah.
We think stuff comes out of China. No, they just mass produce stuff, but the brilliance comes out of Israel.
Yeah.
So check it out. We got Sheba and Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish shall with all its villages say to you, have you come to capture a spoil? Have you assembled your company to seize plunder and carry away silver and gold, and to take away goods? All right. So he's talking about this. Now, it says the merchants of Dedan, right? If we look, it says in the King James, it says Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish with all the young lions thereof.
Right.
Okay. Some of the versions don't have that. It says with all its villages.
Oh, okay.
Like in the New American Standard. So let's look, and you really got to look into this stuff. Even the New King James has, all of the young lions will say to you. So you got to ask yourself, what are they talking about? Okay, why is young lions in there? So we go to the original, and in fact, it's also a young lion. So it says a village as covered by walls. Okay. So that's why some of them say kafar is to cover, but it's also covered with a mane, and that's why they say young lions. So a cover, it was like a euphemism for a lion, which is why the King James and the Texas Receptus has basically the euphemism of it. Hey, the covering, it's not really a village, it's a lion. All right. But let's look at it from a prophetic point of view.
Okay.
Who's Sheba and Dedan? Okay. Sheba is from the tribes in the Ethiopian district. There's three main tribes, the ancient towns. Now, if you're gonna do a prophecy and you're gonna say this country, they're not gonna say, hey, you're gonna come up and then you're gonna see Nigeria, because the country isn't around yet.
Right.
So you have to look at the area that when they were making the prophecy, what was that area?
Right.
Well, Sheba was basically an Ethiopian district. There was three different tribes that were there. So the Sheba is essentially Ethiopia. Then you have Dedan. Okay. Dedan. It's from the Cushites. It's the name of two Cushites in their territory. Now, Cush was, the son of Ham. So they went down to Africa. So we're talking about Ethiopia, Kush, all African, right? So they're nearby. Now you also have this. This is interesting. With all the young and the merchants of Tarshish. So there's merchants of Tarshish. Tarshish is, by some, they say that, well, that's Tarsus now in Spain. And they think that's where it was, because that's where Jonah went. Remember Jonah?
Yes.
Ran away to Tarshish. Okay. And then, so that's what they think that is, where they basically did metal work and things like that. There are also those who say Tarshish is actually up in the UK, because it implies tin makers and the smelting for making of tin. So now you're talking about the UK and all of their stuff. That, in context, would make a little more sense.
I agree.
Because what is the national flag and everything of UK and England? And
it's got a big lion on it. Yeah, it's got a big lion on it. Yeah.
It's a big lion. And now we know that Tarshish has the symbol of the lion for their national symbol. And they literally, there was that point in time where the sun never set on the British Empire. Because they founded Canada, United States, Australia, India, but
Bahamas.
also, Bahamas and some of the islands down there. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But since these other two are in Africa, could it possibly be South Africa that they're talking about?
Well, one thing is, to me, I don't know if this plays into it or not, but how the Bible says that there's going to be famine. Some of the worst famine in the world right now is hitting in Africa, South Africa. And if they were to get, let's say, Russia or Iran or somebody like that comes in and says, hey, we can solve your problem. We'll give you, your food. You don't have to worry about that anymore. People are not going to die from starving anymore. We'll take care of that. But you're going to sign up and you're going to fight with us. I think they would sign that contract, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. So if you're picturing it like this and you say, okay, Tarshish with all the young lions thereof, that means all their little offspring nations. That's one good way to look at it. Now, again, let's go back. Prophecy is esoteric. And that means basically we're not going to know exactly what it said until like 10 seconds after it happens. Right. And then we'll be like, oh, that's what he meant. So we're just taking a little stab at this now. But that's what it looks like to me, all the young lions thereof. That word means to cover. So that's what we look at. Are you come to take a spoil and yada, yada, yada. We know the rest. That's kind of the way I see that. All these other nations are just going to stand back. Even the young lions and the African nations that are close, they're just going to stand back and complain about it, which is what most people do today anyway. They complain about everything and don't do a doggone thing.
Yeah, that's what the United Nations is good at. They're real good at doing nothing. They complain a lot. And did you know that there are more resolutions coming out of the United Nations against Israel than any other country on earth?
Actually combined. There's more against Israel than every other nation combined.
It's insane. And even the Secretary General of the United Nations has refused to condemn what the Palestinians did, or what the Iranians did, I should say. They have not condemned that action yet, but they have come out and said that Israel should not do anything. Just even now, Joe Biden said this: "It's a win." The attack on Israel, he said, it's a win. So, and the second half of it was something like, basically get over it. That was released, leaked, I should say. And they think, the reporting that I'm getting, they believe that the reason that portion of the readout, which to my knowledge still hasn't come out yet, the phone call between him and Netanyahu, is because it helps to secure a vote of those that are anti-Israel, those pro-Palestinian protesters and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. For him to say, we're not going to join in any kind of retaliation, get over it, take it as a win and move on, that is a way to try to get that support back, in those 10 polls where he's supposed to be ahead when he's 20 points behind, that kind of thing.
And is he not thinking about everyone else in the nation? That's just wild. We cater to
he doesn't.
Little tiny guys.
He doesn't. They don't. They rely on, and even the mainstream media will report this, so y'all don't get all excited about it.
Don't get your panties in a bunch.
The black vote, the suburban women vote, and the Hispanic vote. Those are the big ones. And of course, the big issue, you got to be for murdering children. If you're not for murdering kids, then vote for the Republicans. And what I'm talking about there is partial birth abortion. And I have heard exactly what that entails. Mark Levin on Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox, he described it in grand detail. So if you guys want to take a look at that, it's a little too graphic for me to repeat on our show, because we want our show to be heard by everybody. And it is really graphic.
It's horrible, and they just keep getting more and more horrible.
Yeah.
People are evil. Yeah. It's literally, Satan's plan for sacrificing.
Yeah. Well, that, as in the days of Noah. Mm-hmm. Again, because, there were child sacrifices back then. And this, again, now this is personal opinion, but I think it's pretty good opinion that this is modern day sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. It 100% is.
Yeah. So, all right, David, I probably blew you out over here, but get back to what you were talking about.
Well, and then he talks about Gog coming down. We know Gog is Russia.
Right.
Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say to Gog, thus saith the Lord, in the day when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it? Now shalt thou come out of thy place from the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. Okay, and then he goes on to talk about that. So there will be the attack on Israel, and it's going to be God instigating it.
Yeah.
For the sole purpose of destroying them.
Yeah. But now the Gog and Magog war, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but the Gog and Magog war is not the Psalm.
No.
Psalm war.
No, we're looking at a different thing.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a whole bunch of different ones, and there's going to be similar ones leading up to it. We're going to see a type of war that looks like it, but then there'll be the actual one that's spoken of, and we'll see that all the way along. There'll be tons of them, wars and rumors of wars, and we're just going to see that. And it's just the same? It's distressing, but there it is. It's written.
Do you think, and this is one of those deals where I don't know if even if there's a right or wrong answer to it, but do you know, is the Psalm 83 war, could that possibly be just like a precursor to the Gog and Magog war? In other words, one ends and the other one kind of takes over immediately? Or do you see it as two completely separate events?
Yeah, they're going to come as birth pains, right?
Okay.
So it's just interesting, and I think all of these things, since they're spoken of, are going to become in quick succession.
Okay.
Because he says that, you were going into the worst time in history, and where we're just getting closer and closer. Now, I don't know if you saw where Israel attacked the Damascus airport.
Yes.
Okay. So there's that, the Damascus prophecy, and so it's just the birth pains. It's going to be growing more and more and more and more and more. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, you're talking about Damascus, and again, that brings us to another unfulfilled scripture, Isaiah 17:1, which states that Damascus will cease from being a city. I feel like I have always held the opinion that happens first and that everything else follows it. But, again, that's just opinion. It could be last for all I know. But I feel like that would be, if let's say that something happens with Damascus. I mean, we were talking about all these Iranian missiles and everything, and, they even took a chance and shot them toward Jerusalem, something that not even Saddam Hussein would do for fear of hitting the Al-Aqsa Mosque and all that. Let's say that one of their missiles takes out Damascus. We know that they're within a whisker of having nuclear weapons. Well, what if they have a nuclear weapon and it takes out Damascus? I guarantee you Israel's going to get blamed for it, no matter what happens. But, it's possible, right? And I can't think of anything else that would bring people together really fast against Israel is taking out a city like Damascus, the oldest city on earth.
Yep, and it says, "Behold, Damascus is about to be removed from being a city and will become a fallen ruin," in the New American Standard, and they're forsaken. So, he's talking about here. He's seeing it. It's about to be removed, and then where's the one that talks about in the morning, be gone?
Yeah, take me a minute to find that one. It's there, but it'll take me a while to find it.
It's so distressing, but there it is. It's going to happen.
Right.
That's what we're going to do. So we're seeing all these things. You look for that, and I'll yap a little bit.
Okay. All right.
So all these things coming upon us. I mean, we are supposed to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Right.
All right. And so some people are like, oh, don't you want to pray for peace around the world? Well, that's, in one sense, but we're told to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Right.
Are we supposed to pray for peace on every nation, or is it? So that's a really good question. Or is it we're just going to say, hey, this is what's going to happen, and God is bringing a judgment down on them? And just like the wars of old, he allowed the people to come in and pull them in so he can destroy them because of their wickedness. So that's another thing too. But because of the promise to Israel, he's going to say, okay, you pray for their peace, but all the other ones, I'm going to destroy them, so don't pray for their peace. I'm trying to find verses that might say, hey, pray for the peace of the whole world.
Well,
but I think what I see is, pray that thy kingdom come and thy will be done. Well, if I read Revelation correctly, the way his kingdom comes is he comes and destroys all the nations. So that's just an interesting dichotomy. Are we supposed to be nice and pray for everybody for their... Now, individuals, yes. On an individual basis, we need to pray for people's salvation and for people to come out of those nations. But the ones who are, staunchly reprobate, he will come and destroy them. It's just an interesting thought.
David, I'm not finding this yet, and I'll tell you why. A lot. I put in my searches to do this, and I'm getting so many that are coming back telling me, this prophecy's been fulfilled, things like that.
Fun.
That's what I'm getting, in other words, I'm getting a lot of junk stuff. So you might want to take a shot at it. I mean, any other time I could pull up something in 2 minutes, but for whatever reason today, it's giving me grief. Everything today on my computer's giving me grief. But anyway, if I have to, I'll find it once the show's over, and we'll put it on the next one or whatever. But it's there. Damascus will be destroyed. There's no doubt about it. And it will not be inhabitable except by animals or birds or something like that, from what I remember. I don't know if you got anything to say about that or not.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. It talks about it's being destroyed and never being inhabited. Does that include through the millennium?
Good question, because I don't think there's not an answer to that one, right?
Yeah, so never again. So is that never in this age, or never even until the complete destruction where he creates a new heaven and a new earth? I'm
going to say, again, now, personal opinion and wild guess, I'm going to say that it's not going to be inhabited again until at least until after the second coming of Christ, and probably not until the new heavens, new earth. Probably.
Probably,
opinion.
because then it's all going to be new anyways.
Right,
Nothing
yeah.
is going to be here.
Yeah, 'cause
Here it's actually at the end of the chapter.
Okay, did you find it? Okay, I
you know
should have
what?
just
I
scrolled
do that
down.
every time. I'm like, isn't it supposed to be right after this? And it's like, no, it's at the end of the chapter. Wake up. So in 13 it says, the nations rumble on like the rumbling of many waters, but he will rebuke them, and they will flee far away and be chased like chaff in the mountains. So here we are. He's going to rebuke all the nations like a whirling dust. At evening time, behold, there is terror. Before morning, they are no more. Such will be the portion of those who plunder us and the lot of those who pillage us. So it talks about Damascus in the beginning, but this looks like it says all of them.
Yeah. Well, you know,
A strong city.
even Ezekiel talks about, you know, how these different countries are affected. You know, all the armies destroyed. It's not just Russia, and it's not just Iran. There's a whole bunch of folks that are going to meet their end when God comes in. But
Yeah,
now,
it is.
Are you under the same impression that I am that our country right now is in the process of pulling back to the point that if Israel is attacked again, do you think Biden's going to help again? Or do you think maybe he's going to step back this time?
He's he didn't help the first time.
Well, he did. This time around, they shot down a dozens.
That's what they say. I mean,
Yeah.
but anyway, I don't know. I wasn't there. But are they really helping Israel?
No, but I mean,
Okay.
they
Or
helped
is it
them.
like, oh, we have to do this to look good? That's really my question.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
motive behind it?
Yeah,
You know, if we didn't stop it, what are they going to say?
yeah. You know, my personal opinion on this has not changed a bit, and I believe that the United States is going to pick the wrong side, and by that I mean not help Israel, whether or not
Yeah,
that
like-
means joining
Like
in with the other
blatantly come
side,
out and say we're
or going to the United Nations and jumping up and down like an idiot, you know, and screaming, no, no, no. I mean, anybody that says don't as a war policy, I don't have much faith in.
And yeah, you read these things, and you've been reading them for 40 years, and it's still distressing because now it's getting closer. It's like, these poor people. So, but just folks, just so you know, these things are coming.
Mhm.
All right. So I'm secure in the fact that Jesus is coming back,
Mhm.
and whether I go tonight because of some other reason or the rapture happens, I know that it's 1 second to the next. I just step into eternity.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
And my eternity is with the Savior from there on out. So it's going to be a glorious time. I'm not worried about it. Okay. All these things will happen on the earth. I want you to be in that position too.
Amen.
So there's going to be a point where you will step from this time frame into eternity too. Before that happens, you need to receive the blood contract that Jesus died for you to pay for your sins, or else you got to go pay for your sins yourself.
Amen.
So I would highly recommend that you say, you know, Jesus, I'll accept that contract. I'll give my life to you because you purchased me. We give you all the glory and praise. And, you know, I'll receive you and serve you the rest of my life. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Love your neighbors yourself. That's the deal. And just accept him as Savior. JD?
All I can say is amen. You know, you don't want to be any part of that tribulation period. So take care of business now, and that way you don't have to worry about it later. Okay, David's show's next up. We'll see you next time.
Thanks again for joining us today for the Last Christian Radio Show. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday right here and at www.lastchristian.net. Until the trumpet sounds.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, But it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.